Thanks to The Great Courses Plus for sponsoring this video. Find out about the services they provide later. Ms. Baarova, you were born in Prague in 1914. When did you decide to become an actress?
I remember I was walking from the conservatory to the National Theater. I stopped and looked at the National Theater and thought I would play there one day. And so it happened. Well, that's when I started working with big professional actors. I decided to do it for only 2 years. And then one day, fate came. A famous film director came and was looking for new faces. He said, "I am looking for a girl, a new girl. Show me the 4 best ones you have." And he came to me and said, "Can you sing?" And I lied. Actually, I couldn't sing very well, but I said, "Yes, I can sing." He said, "Well then, come to the test shooting tomorrow evening." So I went to the audition, and I passed. I was accepted immediately for little money. Back in those days, we got very little pay. And I played the leading role. It was a success. I was immediately hired for the second film. From this point on, I got one role after the other. I was just 18 at the time. And by the time I was 20, I had already acted in many films. It went wonderfully. I was very photogenic and probably acted well too. I also tried my hand at small roles in the theater. Then great films came, more important ones. And then one day, I got a telegram from UFA in Berlin. That was strange. So I drove to Berlin overnight with my mother. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, we were standing in front of the UFA building. It was still closed. Nobody would let us in. And then they finally opened. I said, "I am here for a screen test." After the screen test, the directors put their heads together. And I saw that they were very intent. I was sitting there with my mother and waited. Then a director came to me and said, "Well, you don't speak German very well yet. We need a new actress for a film now. But you would have to learn much better German." And then one evening, the director called me, and he said, "You will be very happy. Gustav Fröhlich is your partner." I was thrilled, and then he started shooting a big film. The film was set in Venice.
Giacinta hieß ich. Es war irgendwie auch mein Schicksal. Es kam ins Atelier, weil es so interessant war.
The film became a complete success. The entire Reich's government was present at the premiere. Hitler, Goebbels, all these important government figures. I kept myself in the background and didn't want to make myself important. But then someone said, "Baarova, come on," and I was introduced. And as I came to Hitler, he looked at me long and hard.
Schaute mich lang an
and said nothing. I just thought, why is he staring at me like that?
Ja, sie sind neu und so weiter. Ja, neu. Nächsten Tag war ich zu.
The next day, I was invited to tea. I was completely unsettled. For God's sakes, what should I say to him? I didn't want to go there at first, but they said I had to go. So I went there in my little car.
Prague habe ich damals gehabt mit großen Czechs und kam in den Hof.
Upon arrival, I had to laugh because everyone was greeting me with the Hitler salute.
Dieses tschechische Wagen so grüßten. Und kam hinein.
I went inside and thought, for God's sakes, what is waiting for me here?
Und da saß ich.
I took my seat. Everything was prepared.
Und dann kam Hitler.
And then Hitler came, simply without medals, without anything, simply in civilian clothes. He sat down and said, "I am glad to meet you. You look very much like someone who played a major role in my life, a very significant role." I was flabbergasted at that. He said, "The picture is on my bedside table, and you look a lot like her. That's why I invited you." I said, "That's why you looked at me so long." And he said yes. I was so surprised. He was talking about Gili Rubel. I didn't think we looked alike, but he saw it differently. She had shot herself. This story I found out later. Then we just talked.
Kein großes Kompliment wie ihm überhaupt nicht. Hat gefragt und dann kam mit der Frage heraus.
At some point he asked, "Don't you want to become German?"
Da habe ich gesagt, nein.
I said, "No, I don't want to. Why should I?"
Weiß nicht warum.
"Does it bother you that I'm Czech?" He responded, "No, but you could live a wonderful life in Germany." I said, "I have my whole family in Prague." He said, "Yes, sure, but your father could get a good position here. Wouldn't that be something?" I said, "No, I would like to stay Czech." And then I was invited to a ball. I was standing next to Gustav Fröhlich, and Hitler said to him, Mr. Fröhlich, you are torturing this woman mentally. I've forgotten to mention, Gustav Fröhlich and I were in love at the time. He was my idol, and I fell in love with him. And he fell in love with me. But it was just an episode. It's like that when a young girl comes to Berlin at the age of 20, shoots her first film, and then experiences these stories. That was unpleasant. After the affair with Fröhlich was over, I was no longer invited to so many balls.
At this point, we would like to introduce you to our sponsor, The Great Courses Plus. Learning new things, whether it's about history, cooking, photo editing, or even how to plan for your retirement, can be hard. This is where The Great Courses Plus can really help you getting a head start. The Great Courses Plus is a subscription-based, on-demand video learning service with top-notch lectures and courses from top professors from the Ivy League and other great universities globally, as well as experts from places like National Geographic, the Smithsonian Institution, or the Culinary Institute of America. The Great Courses Plus is giving our viewers the great offer of a free premium membership trial to check out all the courses and explore everything they have to offer. Thanks to their Adobe Photoshop and Lightroom lectures, we now have the ability to create much better thumbnails for our YouTube videos and extend it for you guys. Because of their easy-to-follow, step-by-step structure that will take you from the fundamentals right on to being able to properly understand the topics you are learning, it allows you to explore new skills, deepen your existing passions, and get absolutely lost in creativity. With the Great Courses Plus, you are able to focus exactly on what you want to learn and do that at your own pace, when you want and where you want. There are no tests, no homework, and no schedules to keep. And there's no limit on how many lectures you watch at all. To start your trial, simply follow the link in the video description or go to thegreatcoursesplus.com/begafilm and create your free account. It's that easy. Happy learning! And now please enjoy this new video. Despite frequent criticism of German film in the Third Reich, the former theater director, Lida Baarova, wrote that it was a very important time for German film. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. We have made great, beautiful films with good directors and very good actors. I didn't have an easy position, but I prevailed. I was this typical Czech character, but they did use me in German films, and I worked with a lot of actors.
Ich habe mit Schönhals gespielt und mit Deltgen und mit sehr vielen Schauspielern. Ich hatte im Vertrag 2 tschechische Filme.
I had to do 2 Czech films a year according to my contract. But I shot much more at the UFA. I was very, very busy.
When did you first meet Dr. Goebbels, and what was your first impression?
I first met Goebbels at a performance at the UFA. But at first, he didn't impress me at all. I hardly noticed him. Goebbels was a minister. Later, he invited me to tea in a log cabin in a kind of weekend house. He played the piano wonderfully. He was very musical, and then he played something for me. I was struck by his positive charm. He was really extraordinarily charming. And he was very intelligent. He talked about everything. And always in such a way that he impressed everyone. That's when I said to myself for the first time, this is an interesting man. He invited me to tea with several actresses. It was noticeable that it was always only women.
Irgendwie, ich will nicht sagen kokettierte, aber war sehr charmant und die sind darauf eingegangen. Ich habe zugeschaut.
The actresses went in and out of his house, and I kept thinking to myself, this man must have something special beyond his charm.
Charme hat
Of course, some actresses also wanted to use his position as Reich's propaganda minister, and thus head of the film industry for their advantages, you know. Goebbels was smart, very smart, and a great man, but I never loved him.
Das war angenehm.
It was pleasant to listen to him. It was pleasant to be in his presence. That's all I can say.
War sehr charmant und sehr klug. Mehr kann ich nicht sagen. Ich war ja verliebt in den Fröhlich.
I was still in love with Gustav Fröhlich, as I said before.
Eine Wohnung, aber ich war
At this time, I had an apartment in Berlin, but I was with Gustav very often in his mansion.
eine Villa gehabt.
I spent days at a time with Gustav. He had a villa on Lake Bogensee, which was only 3 villas away from Goebbels.
Und ging immer spazieren mit
Goebbels was
seinen
often seen
kleinen
walking with his daughters.
Und einmal kam ich von der Olympiade und
Once I came back from the Olympics, I met him by chance as he was once again on the road with his children.
dass mit den kleinen Kindern da ging. Und da sagte Frau Baarova, ich möchte
He said, Mrs. Baarova, nice to see you. After a short conversation, he said, can I see the villa of Mr. Fröhlich?
führten ihn
It was a beautiful villa with a large property.
Villa, ein riesen Grundstück, Tennisplatz,
Tennis court, boat placed at the lake, and so on. I showed him everything.
das alles gezeigt.
Gustav was also there, and Goebbels said at the end of the visit,
Darf ich Sie mal
may I
einladen
invite you both to my yacht sometime?
auf meine Yacht? Und der Fröhlich,
And Mr. Fröhlich said, of course, Mr. Minister.
Und dann hat uns dann später
The invitation followed shortly after, and we made a round trip to Bogensee.
Wir waren da, eine Rundfahrt gemacht und so weiter. Und gegen
Towards
Abend
evening,
sagte
Mr.
der
Fröhlich
Fröhlich,
said,
ich muss
unfortunately,
jetzt
I have to go now. We have a night shoot today.
Dann ging ich mit ihm und
When I wanted to say goodbye to Goebbels, he said, oh, you want to leave us already too?
mit Herrn Fröhlich.
You're going with Mr. Fröhlich? Of course, I said. I also came with Mr. Fröhlich. I always go with him. Then he said, beautiful, worthy of attention. But perhaps this time you could stay a little
Da
longer?
bleiben Sie. Und dann blieb ich. Dann
So then I stayed. We went on and had dinner on the ship.
auf dem Schiff gehabt. Waren
There were
mehrere
several actors
Schauspieler.
present, not only me.
Und das hat
It lasted until 3 o'clock in the morning. It was wonderful.
War wunderschöne Sommernacht.
Goebbels then said, thank you very much. Now my chauffeur will take you to Mr. Fröhlich.
Fährt zu Herrn Fröhlich. Und ich kam und er war gar nicht
When I got home, Gustav was not at all amused that I had been out for so long.
so froh darüber, dass ich da so lang war. Ich habe gesagt, naja, soll ich mich hier von Mücken beißen lassen? Dann saß ich halt da und so weiter. Und es ging, das wäre eine lange Geschichte. Die Einladungen, die kamen ja nicht nur für mich, die kamen für
These
andere,
invitations were not only for me, but also for many other actresses he liked.
die ihm gefallen haben. Und ich habe immer so zugeschaut.
In the beginning, I always kept myself in the background and spoke little.
Das hat sich dann
Only later did things develop differently.
entwickelt, dass ich irgendwo in Nürnberg zu einer Premiere
I was in Nuremberg at a premiere of a film. Unfortunately, I don't remember which film it was.
das war. Und da saßen wir.
We were all sitting at a long table, and Goebbels approached me and sat down with me.
Gesprochen, und dann hat sich zu mir gesetzt und war sehr charmant und wir haben sehr viel gelacht.
He was very charming as always, and we laughed a lot. I found him very amusing that evening.
Und dann gingen wir hinüber zum Hotel von Hitler.
Later, we went to our hotel where Hitler and the closest leadership staff were also staying.
Mit den allen. Sagte mir,
In the reception hall, we all came together, Goebbels too, and he suddenly said, "Forgive me, Mrs. Baarova. I did not send flowers for your wedding."
Wieso? Ich bin doch nicht verheiratet.
I said, "Why? I'm not married yet."
Sie sind nicht.
"You are not married?" he asks. I said, "No. Why did you think that?"
Ne? Wieso dachten Sie das alle? Ja, weil Sie da leben. Da fing seine Interesse,
From that moment on, his interest in me increased.
mich dann mit anderen Augen angeschaut.
He now looked at me with different eyes.
Am nächsten Tag so ein Buffet.
The next day, there was a buffet in the hotel. He was standing next to me and suddenly said, "I want to see you more often."
Ich möchte Sie öfters sehen. Da habe ich gesagt, warum?
I said, "Why?" He said, "I think you are so nice. You have something that I like very much."
Sie haben irgendetwas,
I said, "I'm glad to hear that."
mir gefällt. Ich sagte, es freut mich, aber ich weiß nicht, wie ich dazu komme und so weiter.
The whole thing was a long story, how it developed with the invitations. Receptions were the order of the day. All the ministers were always there with their wives. We sat at different tables, and Goebbels went from table to table.
Kam zu dem Tisch, zum anderen Tisch und so. Und bei mir blieb immer länger sitzen.
With me, he always sat longer and talked to me. We laughed a lot. He was very funny.
War sehr witzig. Und ich fand ihn sehr
I thought he was very nice, and I didn't think anything of it.
Und,
Anyway, it developed in such a way that he preferred me.
entwickelt, dass mich bevorzugt hatte. Hat mich öfters
The invitations
eingeladen.
increased.
War irgendwie, habe ich natürlich gewusst, dass mich bevorzugt. Und ich wusste, eine Frau weiß,
A woman senses when a man's interests go beyond flirting.
die Beziehung steht. Ich wusste, dass irgendwie.
And that was the case here. I knew that he was somehow, I don't want to say in love with me, but very interested in me.
Zuerst hat es mir eigentlich gar nichts ausgemacht.
At first, I didn't really mind at all. I thought it was terribly funny.
Ich war ja immer mit Fröhlich. Und hat dann so ein Blockhaus gehabt. weit von
He had, as already mentioned, such a small weekend house about 20 kilometers from Berlin, which he invited me once. "Come and see my weekend house. It is very beautiful there," he said. I said, "Yes, well, okay, if I have time."
Ich sage, ja gut, wenn ich Zeit habe. Und dann kam ich.
Anyway, the day came and I visited him there.
Und fühlte mich den See.
The house was next to a small lake where swans were swimming.
Und ein Wald und es war
We walked around the lake, and towards the evening, he played on his piano.
eine Diener gehabt, Kaiser hieß der.
It was really romantic and beautiful there.
Hat mich dann zum Tee eingeladen.
He invited me to tea, cognac, and so on, and I had the feeling that something was brewing.
Da spielt sich etwas. Das ist nicht so einfach. Und versuchte, mich irgendwie
I wanted to avoid that and try to hold back somehow.
zurückzuhalten, weil ich mir sagte, wenn ich jetzt irgendwie
I thought to myself, if I somehow show even a little interest now, then I don't know how he will react.
dann weiß ich nicht, wie er reagiert. Also ich war immer sehr zurückhaltend.
So I behaved very reserved and always talked about Fröhlich, but he didn't react to that at all.
Und er reagierte darauf nicht und hat mich absichtlich.
The evening passed and more meetings followed.
Jeder hat es gefühlt bei den Empfängen, die waren.
At receptions or balls, he sat down at the table with me more and more often.
Ich saß und wir haben viel gelacht und das war furchtbar nett.
He was a great entertainer, educated, charming, and amusing, by the
Ich
way.
fand ihn auch charmant.
It was a strange relationship because I was not actually in love with him.
Und die Beziehung dauerte sehr lang.
This story lasted for a very long time.
Wenn er Geburtstag hatte, hat er
For each of his birthdays, he invited only very specific people. I was always there.
hat sich immer
He always sat down at the table with me.
Empfang in München
He
war
always wanted to be near me.
Tisch und seine Schwester.
You know, I was only 23 years old and inexperienced.
Ich habe das gar nicht ernst genommen. Ich habe mir gedacht,
I didn't think anything of it.
Laune, ist ja bekannt, dass ihm Frauen gefallen und ich bin eine von ihnen und so. Das zeigte mir immer mehr.
He showed more and more interest in me, but he never told me that he was in love with me.
Er sagte mir nie, dass er in mich verliebt ist. Aber ich
But a woman senses something like that.
und ich hatte Angst. Ich habe mir gedacht, Gottes Willen, jetzt ist es zu weit.
Slowly, I got it with the fear of what to do. I thought to myself, for God's sake, now the whole thing has gone too far.
In Acht nehmen.
Now it's getting serious. Now you have to be careful.
Hat mich dann öfters dann auf diesen Bodensee zu diesen
He invited me more and more often to his weekend house at Bodensee, even very often.
Nachmittags immer.
At first, it was always in the afternoon.
Dann sagte er,
But later he said, "Wouldn't you like to come in the evening? It's so beautiful here." I said, "I really don't know." I thought I had better not, but I agreed.
Was soll ich denn nach dem Theater herkommen? Was machen wir denn? Sagte, naja, dann ist es sehr schön hier.
Goebbels said, "It is very nice here at the lake. We drink something together and enjoy the warm summer hours in the evening, a cognac or something else."
Ein Cognac, das war alles. Und wir haben uns unterhalten.
So I went with him to the lake. We talked, and I already thought this could be dangerous.
Das wird gefährlich. Das wird gefährlich. Und es war ja auch
And it was. He was visibly in love with me.
sichtlich in mich verliebt. Und ich wusste nicht, was ich machen
And I didn't know what to do. I was Czech. I couldn't just show that I wasn't interested.
Ich konnte nicht irgendwie zeigen, dass ich nicht will und so weiter. Habe ich mir gedacht, um Gottes Willen, da schickt er mich nach Prag zurück.
I was afraid that he would send me back to the Czech Republic now that my career had just started. He could have expelled me without any problem.
Es ging immer weiter und
And so it went on, and I didn't know what to do anymore.
weiter. Rief mich manchmal an
He called me sometimes.
in meine Wohnung. Ich hatte dann neben
I still had my apartment in Berlin, and he always called me there. Mostly I lived with Gustav in his villa. I was still in a relationship with him. Again and again, he asked when I would have time and if I would like to come.
Und da habe ich mir gedacht, mein Gott, was soll ich jetzt machen? Was wird diese ganze Geschichte, wie
Again and again, I wondered how I could get out of this mess.
hat sich gar nicht drum
He did not care what other people might say about this affair. We kept it as secret as possible.
Und ich habe mir gedacht, mein Gott, nur nicht in diesen Schlamassel zu kommen, dass man sagt,
At some point, it would become public, and people would say that Goebbels has a mistress.
seine Geliebte oder sowas. Ich war es ja nicht.
Which in my eyes, I wasn't. It was all very explosive, and I really had to pay attention.
Es hing an einem Haar und ich musste immer aufpassen. Und, dann war es schon so auffallend, dass
It was already too conspicuous that he favored me.
dass das jeder wusste und das war mir unangenehm.
The people around him also noticed, and that was very unpleasant for me.
Und sagte, dass was
And Mr. Fröhlich, of course, was jealous and said, "What does this man actually want from you?"
lass mich in Ruhe, ich weiß es
And I
selber
said,
nicht.
"I don't know. I don't know myself. It's just like that."
Also, eines Tages habe ich ihm auch
One day, I was once again with Goebbels.
in einem Gespräch gesagt, mein Gott, Sie
I started the conversation.
haben süße Kinder,
You are married.
Sie sind verheiratet,
You have an incredibly nice wife and children.
wahnsinnig nette Frau.
What do you actually want from me?
Was wollen Sie eigentlich von mir? Sie wissen, dass das
You know that this is impossible. We have to draw a line.
wir müssen eine Grenze ziehen. Das geht nicht. Ich bin
It can't
gerne
go on
mit
like
Ihnen
this.
zusammen. Sehr gerne.
I like being with you very much, but this has gone too far. It's gone too far.
Es geht zu weit.
I can't do this anymore.
Ich kann das nicht. Nun, das kurz zu machen, das ging irrsinnig
To make a long
lang,
story short,
bis
it still went on for an insanely long time until he confessed it to his wife at some point.
Geständnis machte, wahrscheinlich, hat irgendwie gesagt,
He told her that he was in love with me.
ich war zu jung,
I was too young to realize what had already happened.
begreifen, was da passiert ist. Und hat mir gesagt, ja, meine Frau sagte,
And Goebbels told me that his wife wanted to see me. I said, "Why?"
warum?
He said,
Ja,
"Because she wants to."
sagte mir das so. Sag ich, ja, gut, aber was will sie? Was will sie mir sagen?
I thought, well, what does she want to tell me?
Also ich kam einmal zu Frau Goebbels.
Anyway, I was invited by Mrs. Goebbels, and eventually she got to the point and said, "Do you know that my husband loves you?"
Sagte sie, Sie wissen, mein Mann liebt Sie. Sag ich. Ja.
I replied,
Was soll ich machen?
"What can I
Was soll
say?
ich sagen? Ich kann
I
nicht.
can't help it.
Ich
I didn't want
wollte
it."
es nicht. Da sagte sie, ich weiß es. Wissen Sie,
She said, "Yes, I know that.
Frau Baarova,
You know, Mrs.
was
Baarova, I don't care what happens
außer
outside
meinem
my house.
passiert, ist mir egal. Aber in meinem Haus,
But in my house, I am the woman."
die Frau, habe ich gesagt, ja. Das ist ja
I said,
klar.
"That's clear.
Das ist mir klar. Und
It's clear to me, and it can't go on like this.
wir müssen
We have to clarify and settle the matter."
schauen, dass das anders wird. Und da verging sie den Fehler.
Then she made a mistake. She went to Hitler and told him about the affair.
Natürlich der Hitler, der mich mochte.
I had a good relationship with Hitler, and now you can imagine the dilemma I was in.
Und da habe ich mir gedacht,
I just thought, now it's over. Now it's over.
und da sagte
Hitler then spoke to Goebbels and told him to keep his hands off me.
die Hände von mir lassen. Und ist bockig geworden, hat das seine Frau gesagt.
Goebbels, however, did not want to end the affair and told his wife that he would move into the ministry.
Zog in sein Ministerium und schlief nicht zu Hause und machte Geschichten. Wissen Sie, wie Männer machen? Sagte, ach.
Then he also came up with the idea that he would resign from his ministerial posts.
Und ich werde in Japan Krawatten verkaufen und es ging so weit.
Then I said, this is going too far. This is going way too far.
So weit. Das können wir nicht. Und da habe ich ihr gesagt, so.
So I spoke to Frau Goebbels again.
Es geht nicht. Ich kann einfach nicht mehr. Und dann ging sie zum Hitler.
And once more, she went to Hitler and told him about it.
Sagte ihm das. Der tobt. Der tobt.
He raged. He raged like a madman. In the beginning, Hitler also showed a certain interest in me, and that was ultimately my fate.
Hat alle auf den Obersalzberg gebeten.
Hitler then summoned all those involved to Obersalzberg and spoke clear words. That is it. I have had enough, he said.
Und so weiter und so weiter.
There was a huge ruckus.
Wollte sich scheiden.
Goebbels wanted to divorce his wife, she from him. It was a huge spectacle.
Ich wollte das nicht. Aber
I didn't want all that.
was konnte ich machen?
I just sat there and had to listen to everything. And Hitler raged like a madman and said, this woman must go. And so on.
Diese Frau, die muss weg und so weiter. Ging dann so weit, dass
it went so far that other politicians came to me and said, Mrs. Baarova, behave yourself. You are Czech. What do you want?
Baarova, benehmen Sie sich doch. Sie sind aus Tschechien, was wollen Sie denn? Ich habe gesagt, ja, ich will ja.
I said, I don't want anything. Please expel me if you want.
Wenn Sie wollen, aber
But I can't help it. I didn't do anything.
Ich habe nichts getan. Und
The whole story ended badly,
schlecht.
at least for me.
Zwang sie, sich zu versöhnen.
Hitler forced Mr. and Mrs. Goebbels to reconcile and gave them 3 months to do so.
Sich zu versöhnen, dass mich nicht sieht und so weiter.
Of course, I was not allowed to have any contact with him during that time.
Das ist das Ende.
And I thought to myself, Lida, this is the end. You have to see that you get away.
Nach Amerika. Ich wollte unbedingt.
I really wanted to go to America. I can't stay here anymore.
Hier bleiben.
Otherwise, there will be big problems.
Weiß nicht, die erschießen mich an der Grenze.
I don't know, maybe they'll shoot me at the border or do something to me.
Und da sind wir in der Nacht gestartet und Revolver.
And then we left at night. A good friend accompanied me, and we went to Prague. Which way, I couldn't tell you. I had never driven this route before. We just crossed the border. I didn't even know exactly which border crossing it was. Anyway, a very remote one.
Wir keine Grenze überfahren. Und wir sind gegen früh.
On Czech territory, we stopped somewhere in the early morning, and then my friend said, "Okay, now you are in Czechoslovakia. And now you must see for yourself that you can cope. I'm going back by train." So I was on my own. I finally found my way to Prague.
Habe ich den Weg nach Prag gefunden. Sonst wäre eine Tragödie gewesen. Es wäre eine Tragödie. Und
The whole thing was a tragedy. I never loved Goebbels, but I enjoyed being loved by a man who had so much power.
Es war sehr schön, geliebt zu werden, so geliebt zu werden von einem Mann, der so viel Macht hatte, der so viel.
He could have as many women as he wanted, and that he chose me, of all people.
Aus mir hatte sich plötzlich etwas gewählt. Dafür kann
I can't help that. I can't help it. I didn't cause it. Maybe only because I tolerated it.
Vielleicht, weil ich es geduldet.
I tolerated it, and that was probably not right.
Und das war nicht richtig. Goebbels war für Hitler wahnsinnig.
Goebbels was incredibly important for Hitler. He did not want to lose him.
Und was sollte
Why should he lose Goebbels because of a woman?
eine Frau verlieren?
That was not allowed to
Das
happen.
war unmöglich. Und ich habe mir immer gesagt, mein Gott,
I said to myself, my God, I am a Czech. They can deport me at any time.
ausweisen und es ist besser. Weg.
It's better to just run away now. Let them do what they want.
Die sollen machen, was sie wollen. Goebbels hat zum Schluss, ich war mit der Hilde Körber.
Before I left Germany, I had one last phone call with Goebbels.
Goebbels hat da.
I had a friend who was an actress, and Goebbels called me at her place.
Und hat gesagt, ich spreche von meinem Freund Göring.
He made the call from his friend Göring so that no one would hear about it.
Und wollte
And then he said,
und da sagte bitte,
"Please always stay as you are.
seien Sie immer so, wie Sie waren. Seien Sie immer so
Always be as
schön,
beautiful and sweet as you are.
wie Sie waren. Und werden Sie nicht böse.
And don't be angry that this is being done to you." Then he said he loved me.
Aber ich kann es.
He loved me like no man has probably ever loved me.
Liebte mich. Liebte mich, wie mich kein Mann wahrscheinlich geliebt hätte.
Ms. Baarova, one last question. What is your summary of German film in the Third Reich?
Ich finde, dass das falsch war.
I think that many things were wrong.
Dass auf eine falsche Spur war.
A lot of things went in the wrong direction.
Anderes vorgestellt. Die 4 Jahre in Deutschland.
The 4 years in Germany with the Nazis, I didn't like it at all.
Das gar nicht so schön. Ich fand das gar nicht so, dass recht hatte. Hatte nicht recht.
I don't think Hitler was right about everything he did.
Und wir
He was not
können
right.
nicht,
Democracy is democracy.
also von
In my
mir
opinion,
aus
only in a democracy is there a real life.
nur
Otherwise,
demokratisch
there is
sein.
not.
Sonst gibt es kein Leben.